sijui unaanza kurealize some things about yourself that you didn't even know. Kumbe mimi ni useless hivi. Dema anakwambia ukule sabuni unakula.
Unaanza understand why Nameless was saying anasinzia akikuwaza like that garbage is now getting to you.
Dema anasema kula lotion unakula.
Welcome to yet another episode of The Story Clip Show. And I am super excited because the person that we have today is not just a ball of energy. Like, I describe myself as a goofball and a ball of energy. But like this man, he surpasses that in a way that is intensely amplified, but yet so real and so charming, you can't help but love him. He is none other than LUGYAHEAT, a.k.a. Charisma. What's poppin', bro? What's poppin'? Mew, mew, mew. It's the cat for me. Like, where did the cat even come from? Acha tulize.
Kwani kazi yake hapa ni nini?
Kweli, Kanya wanaitwa nani?
Huyo? Anaitwa Rudy. Is the most useless person here. Kazi yake ni kukula na kulala.
I know, right? But yes, charisma. I feel like sometimes I understate what people are. Do you feel like that is the exact representation of who you are? Because me, that's how I see you.
No, yeah. I mean, and the thing about me is I always leave however people are gonna describe me to them. Like, because it's very interesting for me to listen to how people think about who I am or rather who they see. So that's very interesting to me because I can't talk about myself. I always feel like it's very weird to describe yourself like I am this and this and this because that's a very, I don't know, narcissistic.
It is narcissistic, yeah.
So what people say about me matters to some extent, but yeah, I guess that's practically who I am. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to be living. I'm happy to be doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy every moment of it.
I love it. Yeah. We had another artist on here. Her name is Achicho. And Achicho said the same thing. Because like whenever you try and probe and ask her, like, what's the deal here? Wagwan? She always says, I am an artist and my art is how it is. You take it, you see it. As long as I am representing you as an artist, as long as you're feeling my music, as long as you're vibing on that level, call me whatever you want to call me, say whatever you want to say about me, but as long as you're listening.
Certain emotions in you.
Yeah, I love it. So
because that's what art is. So for most of us, and I think for a lot of artists, for example, like a lot of us don't know how to express ourselves in the way that we're able to express ourselves in whatever art form we're doing. Being a musician, just being an online persona, like that's your best expression of yourself. So I guess that's how we speak. So I guess people get whatever they get from us from whatever they watch.
Okay. But like Mr. Player, that is what I can say if I speak about your socials, like specifically your Instagram and your TikTok. Madness. Let me speak about Instagram because I don't think I've seen your TikTok yet, but I feel like it's the same vibe. So we see some funny skits between you and Foy, and we die. Because, like, the most recent one, I was on the ground. That one and Range Rover. I just, like, it is so funny how you express yourself as not just an artist, but as a personality. It is, you can tell it is authentic. As in, it's just basic, simple things, but then they make it so... It is so funny. Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, as most of us were, I grew up a big fan of music, But the one thing I always ask myself about musicians is, why do they not seem like human beings? Why is it that every time I watch them, it seems like they're in another dimension, in another world?
Yeah. Like
they're so different from who I am. The way they act, the way they carry themselves is so different. Is this thing real? Like, is this actually how they are?
It feels so scripted. Yeah,
everything feels so scripted. And I was just like, I love the music. However, I don't know if I relate to the person. you know. So I never felt like I related to any artist in particular. I just felt like they were just musicians. I just loved their music. And I feel like the one thing, especially this new generation of artists is doing all over the world is showing people the human element.
Yes.
And showing people that we are actually just like you.
Regular.
Like the fact that I'm on TV, the fact that I'm doing interviews here doesn't mean that I'm not a person like you. Like us guys are so similar. The difference is I sing. You know, the only difference is I sing and I'm on the television once in a while, a couple of times, you know. So even as I grew up, I think that's one of the things I really wanted I really thought about, and I was like, I'd love for my character to be a character where people like actually see who I am. You know, I want people to see me and be like, man, this guy is just one of us, you know. And I think people resonate with your stuff a lot when they feel like you're just like them, because it doesn't feel like you're faking any emotion.
Yeah.
It feels like when I'm doing those goofy videos, as you said before, it's like, this is what a normal human being would do. You know, it's not everyone just looking cool and
I know, right? Like everyone's close.
I mean, we're showing people what actual love looks like, or what actual
relationships and
like
friendships
there,
and
relatable
bonships.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very important for me. Just giving people who I am is very important for me.
I love that. And actually I want to, now that you've touched on demystification of people and especially artists, I feel like this is an age where sometimes I get annoyed, and I hate to say it, and it feels very, maybe it's there's an element of me that's just envious about it, but most times when I look at it, I'm like, maybe it's not envy, maybe it's just a perception. When you go online onto your explore page, let me give an example of Instagram. Every time like I hop onto my explore page on Instagram, it almost feels like I'm looking at the same thing, just different faces. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the same thing, just different faces, different clothes. And I'm like, where is the authenticity in this person? Where is the...
And for me, I really like that you said the point about authenticity, because for me now, I look at it from a different perspective. I'm always like, there's so many people trying to be the same person. So many people trying to be the same person, trying to dress a certain way. And I have no problem with people dressing amazingly and looking like, I love to dress up.
Wrong with it.
I love it, but it needs to come from you.
Yeah.
But the fact that everyone on their stories is so similar, even it's not even how you dress, it's just how you act and all those things. Feel like people are faking everything. You know?
Yeah.
And you know me, for me the biggest problem is in the positions us guys are at, we influence a lot of what people think about themselves and what young kids are looking at and thinking should be the norm.
Yeah.
And when we tell people they can't be themselves, I don't know what kind of generation we're
this
raising,
is going to be. Yeah.
I think the most important thing for people in positions of influence should be to show people that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to act like the person that you are, because there's space for all of us. There's space for all these different facets of human interaction. There's space for you to be goofy. There's space for you to be a cool kid. There's space for you to just be quiet. There's space for everybody, and it's not a problem. And that's why even on my page, I really try to, because the one thing, as I said, with artists is we like to show the good, you know. And the one thing about me is I talk about the things I go through. I went through depression, and I'll tell people, yes, I did go through depression, and I had to go through this steps in my life in order to work on it, and it was difficult. It was a difficult time in my life. I lost people, literally, and also just emotionally. I lost friends, so those kind of things, I like to talk about them because it makes someone feel somewhere. And I've seen these things in my comments where people are like, yeah, I relate to that. This thing happened to me and it was very difficult to go through. But just seeing that there's a lot of us out here going through those things and we're all together and yes, we can make it through. Just showing people that there's that human aspect to all of us, because we're not perfect. People see those stories of an artist died overdosing.
Depression, overdose.
And they're like, but this guy was so happy on his gram. He had all the money. He was throwing bills everywhere. He was drinking. And but that's not how it is, That's
Reality on
not
the
the
ground
real
is
life.
different. Yeah.
Not the real life,
Yeah. And I know you sort of skated about it, and I don't know how open you are about speaking about it before we get into the music. And actually the whole point is I love this whole EP.
Yes.
Every song from beginning to
Thank you.
end, yani kutoka kwa introduction mpaka kwa hisia,
Thank you.
it
Thank you
makes
so
me
much.
feel flabbergasted, fantabagorgeous,
There you go.
all of that stuff.
Biscuits.
I love it. So
Thank you.
before we get into that, there are a few things that you've just mentioned now, which I feel like are very important to talk about, because as much as yes, we enjoy music, it's important for us to also like be mindful of mental health. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Quite.
you
Oh my God. Yes.
you did go through quite a bout. You lost multiple people over such a short span of time. And as a person who's lost someone very important to me, I lost my mom a few years ago. I tend to empathize with anyone who's lost family or a close friend, because it's impossible to explain to someone how it feels.
You can never, people will never understand it. And people feel things so differently. And especially with things like losing people.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's a very unique feeling just to you. And people will say whatever they want to say to you.
Yeah.
But you're the only person who can deal with it.
Absolutely. And a lot of people find it, find their way in a much easier way, but for and I'm from what I've heard, you went through the same experience. For me, it was very difficult to come out of that space, and I couldn't do it alone. I'm a ball of energy, the most resilient person ever, but that situation was difficult. I couldn't do it. I was tired, I was lethargic, I was just tired. I was over it. So and from what you've mentioned, and I had to seek a professional to help me through it. At least a few steps ahead of where I was, because where I was not going to survive. So I had to seek a professional to just explain to me what the hell is going on, because even I don't understand what I'm going through. It's like I'm looking at things and I'm trying to force myself to become somewhere I'm not, or to get to a place that I'm not at, and my body and my mind are conflicting. So you also managed to seek professional help, and I think it's important for you to mention your experience, because people think therapy is you sit down with someone and then you tell them something and then they just somehow give you a one-liner.
And then it just changes your life.
And woo, you're out of that and you're feeling like a whole new person. But it's really not that. What was your experience with therapy, and what did you learn from it?
So I'm gonna also just give perspective of where I was at with my mind even before I got into depression.
Yeah.
Just so that I can show people that it's those people who don't believe in depression and people going through it. It's like I was one of those people. Yeah, I was one of those people who didn't understand why people would go through depression. Ukiwa na shida, kila mtu ako na shida.
Tuna struggle si wote.
So yes, exactly. So I was one of those people, and I think one of the most humbling things God did for me is put me in that position, because it made me an ambassador of this message, because I used to be one of those people who looked down on people who went through those kind of things.
Like you can't control your own mind.
From both perspectives,
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the same for you, because I feel like just listening to you, I feel like we're almost the same character, where growing up, you're those people who are always taking care of people's situations. Like you're the bubbly one. So when people have a problem,
they come to you.
They come to you. So and the problem with that, and what I found with my own personal experiences, I never really went to anyone, because I was always the person they came to,
Yeah.
So
you don't even know how to go to anyone.
So even, and then especially because you have this mentality, so because you're the one getting everything. So I never knew how to seek help from anyone. I didn't know how to talk to people, because I felt like, I don't know, I'm missing Sashida. Like, you see, the problem with being like that is you're never used to being in those situations. So when they come, you get so confused. You don't even know how to deal with them. So that happened to me a lot, when this was happening. And what it translated to was I never talked to anyone about how I was feeling. I never expressed myself to my closest friends. Didn't know.
Yeah.
I was just suffering. I mean, people could tell there's something wrong, but I was just suffering because I don't want to talk to anyone about it. And
You don't want to bum anyone out. Let's call it what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was digging a deep hole for myself because as because of the situation I was in before, I was so used to sorting out other people, but I didn't know how to take care of myself. Things were always straight for me, so that's why I thought depression was just
what is that even? Yeah.
So I got into depression, and it was so crazy because the thing about depression, it could start with a couple of things, but then it just transcends throughout your life. I started having beef with my family. My relationship just went to it went like everything was just, I was not acting like myself. I became a different person to everyone around me. My friends felt like I was pushing them away, like I was treating them like crap. And in that moment, I was wondering, why isn't anybody caring for me? But to be honest, I was making them, they were trying, but I wasn't.
There's a bit of anger that comes with that space as well.
From that situation,
because you're like, yo, I've been dealing with all of your messes, and no one can take the time, or no one knows how to deal with me. And it's not even really how that people aren't attentive to what's going on. It's just that how they're coming at you is just like, how do you not know me? This isn't gonna work. The way you're talking to me right now is not helpful. Please understand who I am. I am surprised you don't know who I am. So it's how they're coming at you that is annoying. And then it makes you just shut everyone off because you're like, fuck the hell of you. Yeah.
And so I pushed on from that situation into now. What happened later is now the thing that really helped me. One thing that I'll tell people right now is just accept your situation. Like when you analyze the thing, when you talk to professionals and you're told this is it, accept it. That's the most important thing. Accept it and accept that you need help. Because a lot of us don't like being helped, but accept that you need help. And so one of the most important things I did for myself is go to therapy and talk to people. So professional help really helped me. However, one of the other things that was really monumental for me was just opening up myself to the people close to me.
Yeah.
My friends, I didn't think my friends would be difficult, but I opened up to my friends, and that really did a lot of it for me. And even past my friends, my folks, I thought my folks wouldn't understand, but they were the most understanding people, which was interesting for me because I was like, I've gone through this thing for like 2 years, and I didn't think anyone would understand me, but look at how everything changed. And just with having the help from people you love, because sometimes when you go through depression, you feel like people don't love you, people don't care about you.
Yeah.
But that love, that outpour of love that I felt in that moment really helped me through that situation. And just talking out my problems really got me through those situations. But it's a long road. It's a very long road, and needs consistency. It needs you to be willing to work on yourself also, and accept. Like when you're told certain things to accept, okay, maybe. Because as humans, we're inherently very defensive,
True.
Like someone will say this, and you're like, True. Yeah, but just being like that helped me, and I think it's something I've carried through, and that's why I feel like I'm in a better position. I don't know if I hope I will never be in that position again, but I think I'm in a better position to deal with
to even manage it if it does come back. Yeah,
to deal with a lot of stuff because I understand things are also very temporary in life. Like bad situations are very temporary,
and so are good. It's like there has to be balance.
Like it's things don't, and you see that's the thing. So you focus on the bad so much, but there's also a lot of good happening in your life. So it really it just changed a lot about me, my perspective, how I deal with things, how I relate with people, how open I'm very vulnerable right now. If you met me 5 years ago, I was just like a stone. But now I talk to people a lot, and it really helps me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that whatever I went through and the things that I talk about, they don't get people out of situations, but they make people understand that this thing is not, I can fight this thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's really no one way about going through any form of mental health problems. Because I'll give you an example. I didn't actually know what I was going through until I figured it out. Even when I was talking to this person, they weren't there to psychoanalyze me. That's the good. That's the. I mean, the thing that really helped for me, I think, was that it wasn't like I was told, by the way, you're going through A, B, C, and D, and your problem is A, B, C, and D. Now start to
When it
deal
was
with A,
deep.
B, C, and D. I know. So basically, the fact that she helped me deal with the things in a more step-by-step way. Like today we're just talking, just kicking, this is
Yeah.
okay, so that's what's going on, all right. And then the moment you start to like really reflect on what's going on, you're like, by then nini stress. It's like just you're just like, what the hell is this even stressing me about? But
Yeah.
it's just, I
Yeah.
think that the piling and piling and piling of stuff, that at some point it just becomes too heavy, and now you just
Yes.
need to start now removing whether in layer 1, layer
Layers.
2, layer 3, layer 4, until
Yes.
eventually you get to the simpler bits of it and you're like, oh, okay,
Yes.
there it was just an accumulation, I just needed to de-stress. For me it was
Yeah.
just, I would sleep excessively.
I didn't want to wake up. Like
Thank
every
you.
morning, I didn't want to get out of. Like I
No.
didn't do anything for like 2 or 3 months. Like I was just in bed.
Yeah.
People, like I'm being told, you know, you need to work on this and this and this. Your life. I'm
You don't
like,
give a, you're
that's,
just sour too. So let
yeah,
me tell you, a lot of people are going through this. Just try and find the symptoms. And we're not
yes,
telling you to find the symptoms so that you can now diagnose yourself and point yourself out
yeah,
as like, oh yeah, I am the depressed one. No, it's to help you figure out
yeah.
how to
Don't be depressed for
deal.
Instagram.
Yeah, like that's weird. That's like psychopathic to some
Yeah,
extent.
this
And you're allowed to express
clout.
yourself. Yeah,
This clout
express.
generation is
It's
where people
very
will take something
weird.
serious.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
strange. But
yeah.
we have digressed to digress. Yani tumeenda kuenda
It is what it is.
tulianza mlima here and now we are on the other side. We're like, wait, we have a bridge to cross. So let's
Yeah,
start crossing the bridge. Charisma
yeah,
the artist. Now,
yeah,
I met you in a very interesting set of circumstances.
yeah,
Tulipatana tukiwa kila mtu ako kwa kichwa yake. Yani everyone was going through whatever they were going through. And the first interaction was, for me, it was funny because, like, in my mind, the way you reacted and the way I reacted, it's because we didn't know each other that we didn't know that we were both just fooling about. Like, you
yeah,
are very like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt your feelings? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt your feelings? And it was so funny. But at the end of the day, now that I've gotten to know a bit about you, I know that you were just vibes, and I was just vibes,
yeah,
and all
yeah,
of that. But in case you're confused about what I'm trying to describe, I met Charisma at an event.
yeah,
Where a lot of his friends were performing on stage, and because he has so many other collaborations, did I say so many? I meant
yeah,
so many other collaborations.
yeah,
He was pretty much almost always on stage, and I was constantly trying to get him off of the stage. So that is how we ended up
yeah,
meeting. I didn't know you. I'd heard
yeah,
your music, but I didn't
yeah.
know you were the artist. Which,
As an artist, yeah.
yeah, which is
Which
funny.
was a very interesting method for me
Yeah.
because for me, there's a lot of times when I just joke with people, and I'm the kind of person who joke and get into character kabisa. Even though and then if you don't know me, you'll be like, mama. And I'm like, nah, bro, listen, I just play. I just play.
Exactly.
Like the thing about me is life is too serious already.
Yeah.
So I
Keep it
just
moving. Yeah.
I
Keep
just
it
make
moving.
I make sure I enjoy myself as much as possible.
Yeah.
And my name is Charisma, and you're watching the Story Clip Show. Yeah, man. Tell you that day was weird
Breathing.
because I had just when I was coming to that stage,
Yeah.
I was performing on my own at the main stage.
Yeah.
So I had just changed. I was literally running
Yeah.
back, like you see and that place was far.
Eh.
I was literally running. I'm like, okay, I hope Sarah was not going. And then I got there and Sarah is not even at the location. I was like,
She wasn't. She was so late. She came in, what, 3 hours later?
bro, let me tell you, by the way,
Saru.
this thing. And when I called Sarah, let me tell you, when I called Sarah, she was like, hey, niko karibu kupanda stage, uko happy? So me, when I was living backstage
Panic.
for the message, I was running. I was literally running. Like, I even had some outfit that was massive. And I was like, guys, I need to change this. I would have loved to go with the other side, but I can't run with this. So let me change it to something I can run in. I think there, I'm waiting for her for another 2 hours.
Man, she took her sweet time for sure. But like after I saw this performance, I was so psyched because it was the energy that you exude on stage. And the funny thing is, I thought that would change once you got off the stage, but you were practically the same person.
That's who I am.
As energetic as you were on stage was the same energy that you were exuding on the ground. And you could tell everyone was gravitating towards you because you have that infectious, like, bubbliness. Basically, your name. You're very charismatic.
And the thing I tell guys is, you see, I remember earlier on when I was starting my career, I had a manager who I really hated because
what did he do?
He kept on telling me how my character is too.
You're too loud. You're too much.
No, him was like, you're too friendly with people. Celebrities, you need to be away from. And I was like, you know what? Me, I'll be the kind of artist who's a person for the people. I don't care how other artists are. Me, I'll just be talking to people. And I told them, one of my examples and one of the people I look up to a lot is Bien. Bien is just a vibey person. He likes talking to his people. Like, when he's there, he doesn't behave like the celebrity. He dance. I'd be like, bro, there's no way someone will be performing on stage. They're having they're performing a song I like their performance, and then I just stand because I'm like, no. I'll go there and jam, you know.
They want you to be a diva and you're not.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, so I wouldn't. There's people who are like that in more parts than, but that's not who I am. You know?
Yeah. So, like, but again, seriously, what is up with your legs? Like, do you ever break them?
Bruh, I have lawyer legs.
What?
I have proper lawyer must go in base.
Insanity. This man can jump so high.
Let me tell you,
like,
if you watch me at Mutoria's show, whatever we did now, the next day on the main stage was madness. I remember getting off stage and my whole body was shaking. I was like, I don't have energy to even drink.
You've done it this time. But like, speaking of like collaborations you've had so many collaborations. I think up until today, my favorite one is always going to be my collaboration with you and Bibi. And actually, that's how I think I discovered you as an artist. It was through Bibi. I love Bibi. He's amazing. And then
Superman.
And then I watched the video of Unavenipenda and I asked him the same question. What was that R&B breakdown that happened on that video? Clear that. I see you over there singing in the rain. I'm like, what is going on?
Excuse me? We're bringing the 2000s back.
What was that?
But let me tell you, Bidi is one of my favorites, man. And the reason why Bidi and I click a lot is just personalities. He's also a very bubbly person. He's really nice. Bidi doesn't try to be what other people are trying to be, like what people want an artist to be. No, other celeb. Bidi just has fun. He does what he loves. He does it to the best of his ability. And I think when us guys met, that's the thing we really bonded on. Like, both of us we're just people who want to have fun with what we're doing. We're very
kindred spirits.
And we're very lucky to be doing what we love to do. So for us, we just revel in the moment. We don't act like, I keep telling guys, so I went to law school and I finished law school and I was actually a lawyer for 2 years. And it was the most depressing time of my life.
You mentioned.
I was sad. I was sad every single day. Like, every time I'd go to the office, I'd just be like, guy.
Another day.
Jioni nafika sangapi.
Another day.
So the fact that I'm now doing this thing that I love, and I'm able to do it every single day of my life, I take so much pleasure in it, and I have so much energy for it. That's why I'm so happy every single time, because I know where I came from. I know what I was doing before and how it made me feel, and now I'm here.
But it wasn't always like that. And I mentioned that as we continue speaking about the music. It wasn't always like that, because I mean, you went from Le Band to, and I feel like I should have given this summary at the beginning. So you went from Le Band to a solo artist.
Yes.
And the rates, I've heard you say this in another conversation with a
Interview.
bunch of other people, that
Yeah.
the rate card ilikuwa rate. You know, the rate card was rated. And then you become LUGYAHEAT. And everyone's just like, all right, bet you were good. But like, bro, listen, people don't know
This is
you.
not the band.
So you are your charisma. Sasa story ya kwanza kuleta rate card za leband wapi. And at the same time, now you're a solo artist, you're venturing. Yes, you had that extended grace where people still knew you from the band, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I still have to now create a whole other persona.
Yeah,
I still have to
shed off
create,
the band.
I still have to create now a whole a star out of a group that people knew, and now I have to make that a me thing. And I remember you said something that really struck a chord with me, and it was the fact that not only did your rate card go to mashilingi, you went from millions to shilingillionaire, but not only did that happen, there was an additional problem where people didn't really rate you in terms of your art. You would get into spaces and sit down, and it's like no one is even recognizing who you are.
Yes.
And that really struck a chord with me. It really struck a chord with me, because when you know who you are, when you know what you can do, and when you know what you've done, and the same people who had seen you do that are now not even recognizing you in general, and in your mind you're going like, wow, are you guys serious?
What's happening?
Are you serious?
Because us guys used to do rate cards with the band, and to be fair, especially around 2017, 2018, us guys were hot as shit. Us guys were everywhere. We were performing every single stage, being booked every single time. Tulikuwa tunaenda kwa stage number one, kila mtu anadedi. But again, everyone just dies. And even now, I still get people tagging me about, this is the best love song I've had from and things like that. So you leave. So I left the band, and the reason why I left the band is because I just felt like I could do more for myself, and I had gotten to a point with the band where I had stagnated. So I got into being a solo artist, and so I'm trying to book shows, and people are actually telling me prices that wouldn't even be paid. Like, hiyo ni fair ananipatia, for real. Like, kusema tu kweli, if we're being very honest, hiyo ni fair, because pesa yenye natumia kufika hiyo location.
No, but like, what was the least amount you ever got offered?
I think it was around 3,000 or 4,000 bob. Na imagine umetoka home na ambia watu unaenda job.
Ati. Huh?
Saizo mimi ni msee mwenyewe. Let me tell you, I've done gigs. I had done gigs with the band where we had done embassy gigs where we had gotten like 1 million bob. I wouldn't even like
what?
So,
from a
I've
meter
gone from there
to 3K.
And 4,000 is those people who actually want to pay you. Wow. There's a lot of free gigs that I did. A lot. So I just became humble. The thing is, and I really appreciate the person who told me, you're not the band. You're now charisma. People, what's charisma's content? We don't have charisma content. We need you to break out of the band and now show us who you are and put out stuff. And I was like, wow, for real. And that really struck with me, because what happened is I brought myself down and I just started working as hard as I did when I was starting out as a musician. Let me tell you this, I don't think in a creative's life you ever work as hard as when you're beginning.
I swear to God, it's like you're chipping and you're not getting there.
And people are not giving you credit also. Like,
the chips.
Everything. Yeah, so you're doing a lot of stuff, but no one is giving you any credit. Like, it feels like it's all falling by the wayside. But the one thing I learned is all those things you're doing that feel like they're not amounting to nothing. Yeah. Become whatever make you what you're gonna be later. Because
it's that discipline,
people who start
resilience. That's just, you're hungry, it doesn't matter. You're like, okay, fine, you pay me 3K, I'm still gonna do music.
Let's do it.
It reinforces your passion, and it gives you like a compass. It's like now your true north is clearly truly north.
True. And you see, the thing is, and that's the thing. So I was even talking to guys a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about how you are performing at Oktoberfest at the big stage. you're performing at Solfest.
Mm-hmm.
You've performed at like the biggest concerts around. Whoa, and I tell them, guys, I did a circuit of small shows for over 2 years. Shows that were paying me the money I don't want to be paid. But those are the shows that made me.
Yeah.
That resilience. You see that period when I was doing those shows for 30K, that's when people said, hey, this dude is he's dope, you know. So I just became humble. And I think another thing that really helped me is because of the band. You see, the one thing with a group, even when things are down, at least you're together.
Yeah, you have someone.
We pushed each other. You know. So at that time when we were struggling, we pushed each other. But I think going through the band made me feel like I've been in this position before, and I got to that level.
It felt familiar.
So I know, it's very familiar. So I know where I'm at. It's not where I want to be. It's bad. It's actually bad, but I know it can get better. I was here before. I was even in a worse position with the band. Si tulikuwa tunaenda kudu gigs Nakuru na tulipwi. Hata kuna siku tulienda kudu gig Nax na tukekwa kwa Mariamu. Tulilala cell.
What?
Imagine you've gone for a free gig, you sleep at the police station.
So you have to pay for bail.
Mnalipa pesa yenu. Pesa inatoka kwa mfuko yenu, mmejilipia transport.
That's painful. That is painful. And who are we speaking to when they were speaking about this microwave mentality? It was Flyer, another artist here who spoke about microwave mentality. Like, we're in that space where you just want to pop it in there 2 seconds and your food is ready to go. But that's not how it happens. And a lot of young people aren't seeing that. They're seeing the charisma now who's jumping on stage like he has, a spring mattress screws on his legs. But like, he doesn't see the charisma that was going to Nakuru. And we need to start talking about those stories. And it's very, very important for us to talk about those stories, because people then understand that it's not a straight line. And speaking about things not being easy, there was the song that you did, Love Me with Emma Cheruto. That song, there's something about it that makes me happy. I'm just like, oh, Emma is so talented. Like, she is such a talented artist. But
she's so good.
There's something about that song particularly that just, it's gushy, it's mellow, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
What was happening when you were thinking about that song? But actually naona ni kama tumeruka sana. Juu tumeingia kwa beneath na sikuwa nataka tuende hapo kwanza. Nilikuwa nataka kukufight about I wanted to fight you about Betty.
Siku ya wedding ulichelewa. Hiyo nikaelewa, eti ni makeup ulikuwa unawekewa. Nilielewa, firstborn bado hujanipea. Una my excuses, ni mshahara unangoja kuongezewa.
What did Betty do to you, baby? Betty bought a bit of butter. What did Betty do to you?
Betty is some funny too. Like, this song was like, I was just chilling with Nviri. And I remember we were talking about it, but it was just, we were like, manze akuangi ready for anything. Okay, mwambia hivi. So we're talking about a friend of us. Udem yake manze akuangi ready. Yetu mwambia manze, nikige, okay, get tukifika hapa ndo tutafanya hivi. So those guys were like, I think that's a dope idea to write about. And it just wrote Betty out of that, like someone, you know how. And I think the funny thing is, us guys were talking about Ashori. However, I think this happens to women a lot also, where you're in love with someone, but this dude is always like, ngoja nikifika hapa nitakupatia ukijali ile siku tutafanya hivi. You know, you're always just not ready for. You know. And I think it's something a lot of people can relate to. Like, you tell someone you love them and they're like, mine is not, I'm not at that point yet.
But charisma. You threw in some toxic masculinity in that song.
Crazy.
Some toxic masculinity, because I'm like, why are you forcing Betty to get married? You just leave Betty alone. Kwani Betty
there was a lot of toxic masculinity. There was even firstborn bado hujanipea.
There we go. Why are you pausing?
But you see, sometimes it seems like toxic masculinity, but I feel like men also go through those things where you've been with a girl so long, you wanted to go to the next step. I'm not gonna say every man, but there's men who actually wanted to go to the next step. But who say kila saa, ngoja, just ngojea, wewe uko na haraka. Na hiyo stuff ni irritating. Let me tell you, I think it's so irritating when you're so into someone. But they're not ready for you.
But like, that's the truth of life. Reality of life is always going to be that simply because you want to do something, simply because you're in that headspace now, doesn't necessarily mean that everyone around you should conform. Yeah. So hiyo wimbo kusema ukweli mimi ilinikusa roho because of that toxicity. There's something about it. I wanted to fight someone after listening to that song, but it was still very entertaining and it was still very real because this is our culture. We can't run away from the fact that this is our culture. We have another really good song which was Good Times.
Remember back then when I could love you, hold you, everything was perfect.
And every time I listen to Good Times, it really feels like that. It's like I was even talking to Vivi and telling him, it feels like the description I gave him was exactly this. You're chilling in the house, it's a Saturday afternoon, you're like, wow, kuna form. And then you hit up your friend, you're like, yo, what's up? And I'm just chilling. And you remember you have like some sausages in the fridge. Kuna tuchoma sausages mahali. And then you remember, by the way, nilinunua makaa. So we can wekelea these things on a grill. You're like, you come through, we'll just wekelea some nyama, you come. They show up to your house and you wekelea your nyama, you bought a few beers here and there. The next thing you know, your other friend hits you up. They're like, yo, baby, where are you? I'm like, I'm just chilling in the house, small pints. He's like, oh, let me come through. Comes with a few other friends. And suddenly what was going to be just a chilled out, drinking and nyama becomes a party. And that is exactly what, to me, Good Times feels.
Yeah. Good Times just feel good,
Yeah, so what was up with that song? Was it the same vibe?
It's honestly just a feel-good song. And then us guys were going through COVID, so how we wrote the song is basically, sometimes I think with life, the thing that you constantly learn as you grow is you never really appreciate moments until they're not there anymore.
True.
So during COVID, how all those things, we were just thinking about all the things we were doing before that we weren't able to do during COVID. I couldn't even just get out of my house. For goodness sake.
To go where?
Like Ukokwa Keja, hey, I was staying in the house like a cat. So like, Good Times was just us guys reminiscing of all the moments we had before and how amazing they were to us, because we felt like everyone felt that way. Like, I wish Ninge realized how much
it was FOMO. It was FOMO. It was
but
mad.
Like us guys never realized how much we had, So Good Times was just about that.
Now, speaking of Marry You Twice, I was laughing because the video, the one that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, where you guys are just doing like a stupid video with Foy, and I was dying. It was so funny. If you haven't watched the video, I swear we're going to put it up right here because, that video was funny. Please. So, Marry You Twice. Tuambie juu ya hiyo wimbo. Again, you were in your fields. Uko hapo, you like, yes, ni kuoa naoa sasa, tunapeleka mahari.
So, I mean, the whole concept of Marry You Twice as a song is, you see, when you say, when a man goes down on his knees and tells you, will you marry me? It means they're so sure about you, like that commitment, like, they've thought about it, they've analyzed the situation, and they're like, yeah, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Or that's ideally how I think it should be, because I mean, men these days are just the way they want to be. Yeah, but ideally, if you think about it in a utopic world, you're like, when someone goes down on their knees, they're saying,
it's like it's the ultimate expression of their love and commitment.
Najua wewe ndo wangu.
Hakuna mwingine. Yes.
Exactly. So when I was saying Marry You Twice, it's like, I'm not only sure this first time,
I can do it the first time. I can put another one
again and over and over. Like, Marry You Twice is just a song that comes from the perspective of, like, you love someone so deeply, you've seen their flaws, you know their backstory, you know everything about them, but you're so crazily in love with them still. And you're so sure, like, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And you're not afraid of proclaiming it to everyone, and you're not afraid of telling them, you know what, we could get married today, and if you want to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it, So it's just the highest expression of love for me.
Okay. So we're now here at the introduction for Beneath the Surface. What was going on? How did you create such a beautiful Afro-pop combination of just 7 songs, but it felt so perfect? What was that about?
So Beneath the Surface. Hey, I guess in a nutshell, what I'd say about Beneath the Surface. Beneath the Surface I think it's one of my most personal projects because it comes from a culmination of everything I've gone through. You know, it comes from a place of love. It's a journey, basically. I started in love with someone and just... what's the first song?
The first song is Good Girl with Mviri.
Good Girl, yes. Yeah, so it's you meeting someone that you're so into, and at that time you've not expressed yourself as much to them, but you're super into them, and you think this could go somewhere. You know, you've met a good girl, and you're in love with how she acts, how she is as a person, her character, and she can drive you crazy, but you're like, this is probably the kind of crazy I can deal with.
Yeah.
You can deal with my crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But still, in my mind, I think about, you know how people tend to start to put heads against each other, butt heads against each other. Because they're like, bedhe huyu anasoundingika nani. Sio ni nani tu amekopi nani. So whenever you see that those two artists, two people can compare, are coming together and actually singing together, there's something about that gives me such satisfaction. Yeah.
And I loved working with Mviri. I love working with Mviri. I've worked with him since a long time ago. Since is it 2017? Yeah, have written songs together and just vibe together. And Mviri is a dope guy, so we chill about it.
He's really fun. Another player, but he's fun. Moving on.
I mean, I don't know.
Mna relate na mambo mengi lakini hatutaban.
Mimi charisma mimi.
Utwezi ban. We refuse to ban.
Mimi kijana wa Mungu. I can never.
Kijana wa pastor.
Kijana wa pastor.
But they quite literally, he's a son of a man of God. Kama hujua sahi.
I'm a child of God.
Kijana wa kwaya.
We don't know.
Na matching vitenges.
Unaona hata Mviri aliwaambia mvae vitenge. Kijana mzuri sana huyo.
Don't kill me. And then we have More, which is also such a really nice song. I feel like how the progression of Good Girl and then More and then Karibu, but let's not get into Karibu just yet. There's a way you are progressively getting more into it.
So you've met this girl, a good girl, but now you're getting to a point where you want to know more about this person. You're ready to give yourself to this person. Like, you were so scared of being vulnerable to them, but now you're like, you know what? I could probably, you know what? Let's just risk it and see how this thing goes.
Let's see how it goes,
You know? So that's really what More is about. More is just about risking and letting yourself experience this thing that you've been feeling. And then that's when you go into Karibu, and Karibu is just like...
All right, fine. We've accepted, now come.
Yeah, Karibu tuko tu hiyo stage ya kusimp yote. Unalia tu, unabembeleza. Ni hiyo stage spendi kwa mapenzi nyewe. Uko tu mtu useless. Unaambia huyu, I love you, you're everything.
Guji, buju.
Buju, yeah. That's what Karibu is about.
PDA, like disgusting PDA.
Hiyo stage kwa mapenzi uanga yake.
It's so cringe to everyone else.
Manze,
Gangster points.
Zina reduce zote alafu manze. Sijui unaanza kurealize some things about yourself that you didn't even know. Kumbe mimi useless hivi. Dema anakuambia ukule sabuni unakula.
Unaanza ku understand why Let's was saying anasinzia akikuwaza like that garbage is now getting to you.
Dema anasema kula lotion unakula.
Oh my God.
It's the worst, honestly. So Love Me, no, is it and then you go into Love Me, and now Love Me is now you're very now after you've gone up
matured,
so comfortable in your life.
Sasa kumachua.
Sasa mnafanya zile vitu zenye labda kwa Biblia hawataki.
Zile zinapatiwa in passing za Solomon, and why does he have 700 wives and concubines? Ni nini anafanya?
Ukiandika story na niko kama footnote. You don't talk about it much. Yeah, but it's just becoming comfortable with who you are as a person, with your sexuality, with you know, and a lot of us go through that. Like, tunafukanga tu place nasema, "Manze, you know what, let's go." And it's the raunchy stuff, it's just the wilding. I think that's the most fun part of a relationship.
It's
like,
very explorative and very experimental, and because you've been vulnerable with your person so much, it's no longer you're no longer afraid of what their reaction will be.
To you,
it's more of like, all right, how far can we go?
I think, we go? You know,
how far can we go? I love it. And then you realize, damn, we can only go so far because your ass is toxic as hell. And get toxic love.
The drugs, the scars, we cry, we lie, we ride, you'll ride me, we hide so high. Tuko maji.
Mlifanya na nini? Mkaanza kuvunja vikombe kama boy major. Ati kai vikombe ndio hizo, sijui nani amevunja sahani. What
do you know what the worst thing about love is? I would say that bomb explorative part of love normally ingiana so much with the toxic bit, and that's why a lot of people struggle with living whatever they're in, because of Kilimanjaro. But last night was so bomb. Tunaweza forgive each other, like they all intertwine. Mnafanya zile mavitu, mnavunjia na yani mnaharibu vitu, mnapigana. It's so beautiful that when you guys come together, and it makes you're not able to leave that situation at all, because you're being held by those things, that the toxic things.
Yeah, like you guys have bonded in so many ways that the question is always, am I going to leave all of this beautiful stuff for just this one thing? Because of small fighting. Juu amenichapa sasa nitaenda. Like, it's difficult.
Kofi moja. Yeah, and that's what toxic love is about, because it becomes so difficult to move out of those situations.
Yeah.
They become so addictive, and you're caught in two minds, and mostly people just fall onto the wrong side of that equation. And you don't want to let go, and it's actually a cry for help, because it could be even the both of you are very toxic to each other and hurting each other, and you don't know what to do. And then you go to Hisia, I guess. I think,
yes,
so Hisia is just, it's literally the last kicks of a dying horse. You're still trying to figure out this thing and see if it's gonna work, but this person is just so bad to you and so bad for you, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to leave. And it's the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But you have to do it, like you get to a stage where you're like, nah.
It has to be done.
Some
of these things have to be done. But it happens. And I love that journey, because it's you've mentioned that it's not just your story, but it's also a combination of other people's stories. People's stories, their experiences. You sit down and listen to your friend, and yako kwa toxic love. Mwingine naye ndio anakaribiana. Wengine wako gugaga. So it's like everyone is going through their own issues and different stages. So it's like that combination of observing and then penning it down. Such talent. But if you haven't listened to this EP, I feel like you definitely need to go and listen to it. I'm sure there's a lot more coming on. Now I know it's just concerts and raking in the money for the hard work you've done.
Of course, there's music that we are working on with the team. So there's a lot of collaborations and stuff. So just keep it this side. We see how things are gonna go. So my socials are LUGYAHEAT everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. What's the other one called? Twitter. At LUGYAHEAT, LUGYAHEAT. And you can follow me just to see what I'm up to, what I'm gonna be doing. It's gonna be fun, guys. Follow me.
And that has been such an amazing show. We appreciate having you on here. Thank you for taking the time. And right about now, I think it's time for us to say goodbye. See you.